What do a former NFL player, a YouTuber, an Army vet, and a couple from rural New Hampshire have in common? They're all prepared for this.
Through this whole storm, we never lost power.
We lost power. I didn't even know it.
In this episode of Plugged In, we're sharing various stories of energy resilience, because when the next storm hits, you'll want to be ready. So what exactly is energy resilience? Simply put, it's the ability to keep your power on when the grid goes down. And with severe weather events becoming more frequent and more intense, it's becoming a necessity nationwide. But here's the thing, energy resilience isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It can look like massive solar farms and battery storage facilities able to power an entire town during storms, or it could be a few batteries in your garage that keep your fridge and lights on during a summer blackout. We're going to explore both ends of that spectrum and everything in between. But let's start big, really big. This is Babcock Ranch. It's in Southwest Florida, and it calls itself America's first solar-powered town.
It's very different than maybe any other town that has been built because we have set out to prove that a new town and the environment can work hand in hand.
That's founder Sid Kitson, a former NFL player turned sustainability developer, and he tells me beyond solar power, this entire town was built strategically to weather any storm.
Our whole concentration is being sustainable, resilient, and innovative.
In 2022, Category 4 Hurricane Ian hit Florida's coast with catastrophic storm surge and winds up to 160 miles per hour.
I can remember sitting in my home and watching the weather, and the weather person said, well, it's headed right for Babcock Ranch.
What happened next was the ultimate test of everything that Sid and his team had planned for years.
That thing sat on top of us for 8 hours. It was going about 3 miles an hour. You could walk faster than that thing was moving, but the winds were absolutely mind-boggling. It is like a freight train running through your house. Just remarkable.
But here's the incredible part. While the devastating hurricane knocked out power to 2.7 million homes and businesses nearby, all of the lights stayed on for residents of Babcock Ranch. How is that?
At Babcock Ranch, everything is underground.
Part of the town's blueprint resiliency plan was partnering with Florida Power & Light to completely weatherproof its electrical infrastructure, including burying the power lines.
We had 10 megawatts of battery storage, never had to be deployed. Remember, I promised over 5,000 people they could shelter at home. We had little to no damage, and everything that we had worked on, everything that we had done to plan for this had worked.
Groovy.
The lesson here isn't that you need to build an entire town from scratch to have resilient power, though that certainly doesn't hurt. It's that resilience comes from planning ahead and building systems that work together, both on the utility side and on the solar and storage side. In a previous episode, we talked about the importance for stronger relationships between utility companies and small-scale solar and storage. Be sure to subscribe to Energy Sage's channel so you can stay plugged in. But while we wait for more utilities to get on board, what about the rest of us who don't live in purpose-built, sustainable communities?
If you do the right thing and if you think ahead of time of what needs to be done, that you can be very successful.
That brings us to this net zero home in Massachusetts, built and designed by host of the popular YouTube channel Undecided with Matt Ferrell. Matt's journey started small, just adding some solar panels and a battery to his previous house. But that experience taught him something important about energy security.
We didn't lose power a lot, but sometimes in the winter, big nor'easters come through, knock down power lines and stuff like that. And that had happened to us on a frequent enough basis that there was this one time where we lost power for, it was a little over a day. And basically, you have to throw everything out of your fridge, like all that kind of stuff.
So annoying.
So when Matt designed his new house, he went all in with a big enough solar and storage system to achieve net zero energy over the course of a year, which means his system generates more electricity than he needs. Though Matt says the real payoff isn't the energy production or even the electricity bill savings. It's that
there's just no worry. Like I was sitting at my computer and the power was out in the neighborhood and we never knew. It's that sense of security for my family, knowing that we won't have spoiled food in the fridge, that we don't have to worry about any of this kind of stuff. To me, it's that sense of relief that makes it all worthwhile.
While Matt is living the dream in his net zero home, he certainly invested a lot into it. On top of the building costs, he says his solar and storage system cost about $90,000. Not exactly pocket change.
It's going to save me over the next 30 years $196,000.
By spending money, he's actually saving it.
So it's been well worth it financially.
But even with those savings, Matt is first to admit all of this isn't for everyone. He says in his videos, there's no one best home resilience option. It's a personal decision, unique to each of our needs.
I kind of look at the content I've been putting together as like a menu. It's like, look at all the different options.
So if a fully net zero home is not in your future, know that there are other ways to make energy security work. Enter Adam Lawrence. He's got a family, a mortgage, and a neighborhood where the power goes out just often enough to be really annoying.
So the first 3 years we had probably an outage once a quarter or something like that for a few hours. And if it's at nighttime in Florida, it's tough to sleep if your AC goes out, right?
Well, it's very hot, it's Florida.
His first solution was a traditional generator, but his experiences with it weren't great, to say the least.
It was raining and it was 3 a.m. We had a little window unit and I had to get that working because we had a 7-month-old or something at the time. So, I'm out there hooking up propane tanks, getting the generators, setting up the interlock, all this stuff too. He's got a headlamp on, doing all this stuff.
Not to mention, Florida doesn't use natural gas, so the costs were getting a bit out of hand.
It now becomes a $12,000 or something endeavor because you have to put a propane tank in or dig one and put it in your yard, all this stuff.
But with some DIY skills, Adam made it work. Except for one little problem. It was noisy as heck.
One of my best friends is my next door neighbor, and his master bedroom is right where our electrical panel is. And so running a generator, that's not the best for my buddy and his wife.
So this past summer, Adam decided to install solar and batteries. And now, instead of paying for gas for a noisy, frustrating generator, he has a set it and forget it system that runs for free on solar power. It's not quite net zero. He says it produces about 2/3 of the energy his family uses in a day. But the Lawrences now have plenty of backup power for when they need it, and that gives Adam peace of mind.
With the weather getting more unpredictable, with political climate becoming more unpredictable, having power security is super important. It's kind of number one, you got to have power, then you got to have water. Seeing these things happen across the world, a lot of people think oh, this can't happen here. And it's well, actually it can. And I'd rather be prepared for it than not.
You don't have to wait for a major outage to start thinking about resilience. Let's head up to Vernon and Jane Jones in rural New Hampshire. After dreaming about solar for over 2 decades, they're finally taking the plunge, and energy security is a big part of that motivation.
There are less than 800 people here in Piermont, and it's kind of far off the rest of the grid, and we've had many friends and neighbors who've lost power for 10 days, 2 weeks, so there's a little bit of fragility there.
For the Joneses, it's not just about the inconvenience. It's about maintaining access to essentials, like having electricity for their drilled well.
With that kind of grid dependency that we really didn't want to have a problem with and be without water for weeks at a time, we thought this would be the chance to kind of get that independence and keep water.
And their desire for energy security goes beyond weather events.
If an enemy were to come against us, we could lose some grid. And so we don't want to be tied to it.
In this case, maybe we should all be keeping up with the Joneses. And for people who can't install rooftop solar or home batteries, maybe you rent or live in an apartment, you have options too.
You can add modular batteries inside the house and just plug it into a wall outlet. And these batteries can work together and give you the same benefits as having an energy storage system in your garage, but it's yours, it's portable. You go to a new apartment, it goes with you.
As severe weather becomes more frequent and our grid faces new challenges with everything from AI data centers to electric vehicles, energy security will only become more critical. But what keeps me hopeful is that we have the technology to make homes and communities more resilient. We often talk about the savings that solar and storage provide, but resiliency provides so much more than that.
It's not just about the finances, it's also about energy security. I keep hammering home on that because it's hard to put a price on that.
That's all for this episode of Plugged In. A huge thanks to Sid, Matt, Adam, Vernon, and Jane for this episode. Now tell me, what are you doing to improve your home's energy security? Drop a comment below and hit subscribe to stay plugged in.